fall. Come shake the ground with the sound of revival. Let heaven roar and fire fall. Come shake the ground with the sound.
Good morning and welcome to the King's Report, Monday, December 18th, 2017. 8th year of Chungi, 11th month, first day by the heavenly calendar. I'm your host, Hyung Moon, second Kim Chanigu. Let's first go to Tim, the agent elder, for our AccuWeather forecast. Tim.
Good morning. It's 28 degrees and cloudy at the Cheonrygung. A rather warm night compared to recent nights. We were down in the single digits just towards the end of last week. But this week, this is our warm week. Last week was our cold week. It's going to get up to 40 degrees today. I haven't seen that in a while. Quite a while.
40 degrees?
Yes, summertime.
A little bit of a warm spell.
Yes, a bit of a warm spell. So we're going up and down, but this is going to be a little bit of a warm spell this week. 31 degrees tonight. The danger is that around dawn this morning and in the early hours this morning, there's going to be some freezing drizzle. That's always very dangerous for the roads, so we need to watch out for that. But for the rest of the day, it should be a fairly nice day, mostly cloudy though, but not too bad of a day. Warm.
Well, we're really enjoying the cooler weather and the actual snow that's coming down. So winter wonderland.
Actually,
I'm going to miss all the snow.
Today's going to be a melting day, I think.
That's terrible. That's terrible. But anyways, it's still beautiful, at least now. But boy, a couple of days of that beautiful winter wonderland snow. Ooh, my goodness, that was amazing.
Yes.
And I've been testing out the ice on the pond too. Getting on top of there and trying to break through.
Oh, don't do that. Actually, AccuWeather today has I will read you the headline: Why you shouldn't cross a frozen pond.
Exactly.
Seems kind of common sense. I don't know why we would have to even
especially
have
when it's near the freezing point.
Yes.
Well, you know, it was interesting. I was testing a little bit, and one side of it was okay. The other side, as soon as I started getting on it, it started popping. So, oh crap! I jump off real quick.
Winter before last, I came out of the church after service and found a set of footprints going across the pond. I tracked the young man down, and he knows now not to do that.
Ponds, big ponds are dangerous.
Yes.
Now this is a small pond. This is very small, and I know how to get out. Okay, and I wasn't doing it in the deep end, near the place where the ice does not freeze over.
Yes, but cold water can incapacitate you very quickly.
Oh yeah, it's very good survival training to break a piece of the ice and jump in there and experience the freezing nature of the cold. We did that when we were at the Lake Sanctuary. All right, folks, we're gonna head now to our Rima today, and today we are in Isaiah chapter 12. Chapter 12. Isaiah chapter 12, entitled Songs of Praise. 12. In that day you will say, I will praise you, Lord. Although you were angry with me, your anger has turned away, and you have comforted me. Surely God is my salvation. I will trust and not be afraid. The Lord himself is my strength and my defense. He has become my salvation. With joy you will draw water from the wells of salvation. In that day you will say, give praise to the Lord, proclaim his name, make known among the nations what he has done, and proclaim that his name is exalted. Sing to the Lord, for he has done glorious things. Let this be known to all the world. Shout aloud and sing for joy. people of Zion. For great is the Holy One of Israel among you. There you go. Very famous verses here. Surely God is my salvation. I will trust and not be afraid. The Lord himself is my strength and my defense. He has become my salvation. With joy you will draw water from the wells of salvation. That is a very famous verse right there. Very, very famous verse. Very powerful. It's amazing because God himself, the Bible says, is my strength and my defense. This is, of course, the prophet Isaiah preaching against Babylon. And if you think about it, when you break down all the different things, and it's a very cliche thing to say, but I've been watching a lot of these tactical folks and special operations guys, and of course they say all the physical skills are necessary, all this kind of thing. But in the end, what makes you hard to kill by bad guys is your mind. Oh, this is what Grossman was talking about. David Grossman, who is one of the top trainers around the world, who's now training law enforcement, but he was Special Operations Ranger. And he was saying, it's the mind that breaks down. He was giving the example of Normandy Beach. And this is where in Normandy was World War II. And on Normandy Beach, they had to fight for 60 days. 60 days. They couldn't rotate the guys out, and the men on the field had to fight for 60 days straight. In contrast, he gave the example of another battle. What was it? Was it Gettysburg? Maybe it was Gettysburg. But it lasted 3 days.
The Civil War.
Yeah, the Civil War. I think it lasted 3 days. And he said they learned a lot. The military learned a lot about human psychology during Normandy, because the guys had to fight for 60 days straight. And what he found was that there was 98% of them became crazy. 98%. 98% of the men who fought for 60 days straight came down with psychiatric illness. They couldn't handle it. And he said their physical bodies were fine, they're et cetera. They were able to eat, they were all that kind of thing. But what broke down was their mind. Their mind broke down. And you see this also in people who have to survive alone, right, in the wilderness. They start going crazy in their mind. You know, after a couple of weeks, they go crazy. They start going nuts because they're dealing with the loneliness, depression. In the case of Normandy, they had to keep fighting for 60. That's 2 months. Think about it. Think about having to fight constantly for 60 days. Jeez, in a gunfight.
Well, it was not just on the beach, but they were, advancing for 60 days.
Right.
They were attacking for 60 days straight.
60 days straight, and they couldn't switch these guys out.
Right.
Oh my gosh! I mean, that's brutal. So what the military learned, according to Grossman, was that they had to switch these guys out on a regular basis. They could not keep people on the front line for 60 days straight because it's so mentally taxing. And in times of tremendous duress, it really is your mindset. It's your mindset and your internal state, which is your defense. He was showing that according to veterans of the VA, only 8% of people who come back from war have PTSD. Only 8%. Whereas the media says it's 40%. And he shows how they created that lie of 40% PTSD. Because they want to create the narrative that all people who come back from war are completely devastated human beings, that they're destroyed, that they're unstable, that they're dangerous, psychotic. Of course, we know this from the standpoint of a political Satanist. They want to discredit those kind of people because they're the people that can actually fight against him. That's what Hitler did as well. But the reality of the matter is only 8% are PTSD ridden. The other 92% are stronger because of the fight. Because they went and fought, they are stronger. Because they went and fought. So people are stronger because of adversity. The Bible talks about that in Romans, right? I believe Romans 5. Tribulation. Talking about tribulation. That gives us... Tribulation leads way to experience. Experience leads way to hope. Hope leads to overcoming, or something like that. It's a Romans 5 chapter on tribulation and how adversity makes us stronger. They want to pretend that veterans are unemployable, they're dangerous, they're psychologically unstable. But that's a complete lie, and it's a complete smearing and attempt to destroy the lives of veterans, because they have to make the veterans look mentally ill, position them as mentally ill, unhireable, not able to get jobs, so that they can politically create the environment to not allow veterans to have concealed carry weapons or to have guns, or because they know the veterans have the tactics already to take down governments. So that's a huge liability for them. The Pelosi's and the Maxine Waters, who are the communists, trying to create bigger government. When in fact, actually, veterans are extremely good people to hire. They're not ridden with PTSD. 92%, the majority of them, 92%, a huge majority, are stronger. They operate completely fine. They may have certain habits that they've learned in fighting, like there's a big sound, they would duck and stuff like that. But that's nothing to do with whether or not they have PTSD or not. And Grossman was showing that how the first newspaper article said the veterans said 30 to 40% of returning vets express symptoms of PTSD, okay? That's what they say. And then slowly, one news article crossed out the word express or have some symptoms. So the next article carried it, and then they crossed out the word some. So they wrote 30 to 40% of veterans, returning vets, not have some symptoms. They said have symptoms of PTSD. Then the next article that carried it had crossed symptoms out and said 30, 40% have PTSD. And then the next article crossed out 30%, and it said, and then it finally came out on CNN basically that it said veterans have 40% have PTSD. When the actual statement from the military was 30 to 40% of veterans have some symptoms of PTSD.
Fake news.
That doesn't mean they have PTSD. You may have some symptoms of sleep apnea. That doesn't mean you have sleep apnea. You may have some symptoms of trichinosis. It doesn't mean you have trichinosis. You may have some symptoms of a cold, but it may not be a cold, or a pneumonia, but it may not necessarily be a pneumonia. Do you see what I'm saying? You have to have all the symptoms of Lyme disease to have Lyme disease. You have to have all the symptoms of, or most, let's say most of the symptoms to have this or that disease. PTSD is also highly treatable. Did you know that? He was saying that many people get cured of PTSD within 2 months. Within 2 months. So the idea that you can't hire veterans, or veterans are somehow dangerous, or veterans are somehow, deadly or a liability to come, it's ridiculous. They're actually more responsible than the normal civilian population. He broke this down by homicide rate. In the last 14 years, there's been 100 vets that have come back and murdered. 100. That's incredibly low. In fact, in terms of civilians, okay? In terms of civilians, now let me see if I got this right. I'll get this right now, hold on. In terms of civilians, there was 245 murders. Normal civilians, right?
We're talking per population?
Per population.
Or
I'm not sure. I'm not sure it was total. I think total, because they're also talking about total vets. Okay? In one of the years that he was comparing, 245 deaths by civilians, where civilians murdered somebody. Vets over 14 years, only 100 of them, murdered. 100 of them murdered. But 3 million, you have 3 million vets, 3 million vets who came back. Okay? And he actually did the statistic. It should be, if it's equal to the percentage of the population, civilian population, it actually should be about 750 to 1,000 murders. Especially if you times that that's per year. If you times that over 14 years, it's in the thousands. If you compare the veterans' rate of murder, they are way less likely to kill somebody than a normal civilian. Okay? So veterans are actually safer people to be around. They're less likely to kill you as the employer. They're disciplined. They work hard. They've been on the battlefield. They have tremendous stories. They have tremendous life experience that made them stronger. And just because they're a vet doesn't mean they have PTSD. This is why we want Chief on the show. We want Chief on the show. We want veterans on the show a lot. I asked Chief, hey Chief, can I have you be a frequent contributor? We'd love to have him on. Maybe we'll start with once a week, maybe 2 times a week, 3 times a week. I like to have him on every day to give a little segment about training, as he helps train our entire worldwide sanctuary and rod of iron movement as a special forces Green Beret. Army Ranger. No, I'm sorry. He was a Green Beret paratrooper. Sometimes you get mixed up. Okay. But it's amazing how much disinformation and lies there are, especially from the leftist lunatics, because they're in the business of totalitarian, centralized, central planning, social engineering. And they know, just like Hitler, that the men who fight for you are actually, in the end, when they return home, are your biggest liability. Because if they turn on you, they have the weapons, they have the access to weapons, they have the tactics, they have the real world killing experience to kill you. We got to make some cool intro videos, like Hollow and Noir. We got to make some cool intro videos of things like that. I want to produce some cool intro videos. And I have to write them out. I have to write up some poetic sort of pieces on Second Amendment. What we'll do is we'll produce something, maybe we'll get out in the range, have me and the Queen shooting slow-mo, and, you know, kind of talking to the camera. You know, that color noir, he produced such awesome pieces. But we got to do some of that for some pieces on the King's Report. Or even just talking about iron rod ministry, on iron rod, the rod of iron. Anyways, we'll work on that. The point is, in all those things that you see, it's really the mind that starts breaking down. And of course, even it's your mind state. Your mind state is absolutely essential. Your mind state. God is your strength and your defense in your spiritual unseen world. He's become my salvation. With joy you will draw water from the wells of salvation. If you look at the PTSD of people who walked out and survived Nazi concentration camps, there are people who survive without getting PTSD. And he was showing those are people with what the military calls resilience, what he calls a sheepdog mentality. They are people, and he said it's about 1% of the population. I don't know about that. Those people, even in times of tremendous duress, will be able, compared to the normal person, to overcome that tribulation. And that's why I really like combat-based martial art for kids and young people, especially the arts like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and MMA and things like that, because they get beat up, and it's a form of induced tribulation. If you think about it, right? In a manner they can experience relatively safely without dying. Your ego gets shattered, but it's a form of induced sort of tribulation, right? You have to overcome this other person you have to overcome the fact that another person can easily dominate you. And then you have to overcome the fact that you are much weaker than you thought. So you have this sort of ego tribulation. And you have to reframe your identity and you have to reframe your view of yourself in concert with reality. So even the kids, I've been training for 2 years, right? So I got all the strongest boys. Sometimes I make them go two against me at the same time. The other day, I told them, okay, you guys can choose the way you would like me to finish you. So they could choose triangle, arm bars. I said, I won't leg lock you because it'll be too easy. Or back take and I'll matale on you. So Hannah Gracie does that with his students too. So it's not, I didn't make that up, okay? But I said, okay, boys, you choose the way you would like to be finished. That means I have severe limitations on how I can finish you. I don't have the whole plethora of my arsenal to attack you. I will just attack you with one move. You can even choose this type of armbar, right? You can choose a kimura, straight arm lock, you can choose. So all you have to do is defend that one thing, right? And of course, so in their mind it seems easier. But they can see very quickly how fast they get finished, even though I only have one move I can do on them. And they experience that. Even though they've been training for 2 years and they're tougher, they now know how to fight. So they can beat up people who are untrained very easily. And bigger guys, right? I mean, by the time I got to Rio, my legs were burnt out and my ankles were burnt out, so I couldn't squeeze. So Rio may be a little diluted. I may have to do it with him again so he feels it when my legs are fresh. Because all these boys chose triangle choke because they thought, that's a very limited attack, right? All these boys chose. So by the time I went with Rio, my legs were shot. I mean, my legs were literally cramping up. I could not squeeze. The boys before that experience, plenty of squeeze. But that's what makes you tougher, right? The experience of even, who's that? Sam Harris, who's an atheist. He's an actual professor. And he actually trained Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for about 2 years, something like that. He's a blue belt. He ended up stopping because he got injured and something like that. But he was saying that for any person, he believes it's absolutely a critical experience to train with a black belt of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or somebody higher than you. He says that it's absolutely like a critical. He believes it's a very beneficial human experience. I mean, he's an atheist. Sam Harris, one of the most famous neo-atheists, very, very hateful of religion. But anyways, the point is, and he said, it's like you experience getting completely dominated by another human being. And it's like, what the hell? I thought I would be somewhat, capable of defending myself, you know what I mean? But you realize you're completely at the mercy of this person's control. Right? You're completely at the mercy of this person. And it is a devastating thing for normal civilians. I mean, so in terms of civilian population, I think it's probably one of the best pedagogical tools for breaking people out of delusion. Right? One thing the girls do too, when they get a little tougher, and they're able to sort of hang with the bigger girls and stuff like that, then I make them roll with the small boys, and then they get dominated, right? So this is another reality check for them to experience, and by experience, they say, "Holy shish! Imagine if that dude is 300 pounds or 240 pounds, just got out of prison, weightlifts and fights every day." And is trained. Holy crap. This little kid just dominated me. Little boy with testosterone. Imagine a beast. Now it makes sense why the Second King talk about weapons. Because even me, I will have a huge hard time fighting somebody that big and controlling them. You know what I mean? Empty-handed. So weapons then become an absolute necessity, and it's become something that is confronted in the study of reality. This was wonderful. Peace, Police, Militia training. It's like study. You're studying reality. And by studying reality, you become a better human being, because by studying reality, you confront your own ego identity. And you must confront what places of you are fake and what places of you are real. And you must seek to discover your real self. And you must seek to discover real truth and not be deluded. The mat, it's like the mat. The mat really is a place of study, spiritual study. It's a spiritual place because you learn deeply about yourself. You confront deep biases and delusions you have about yourself. The mat is a spiritual place. That's why it's called the dojo or the tojang, and the place of the way where you seek the way. You seek the mysteries of the universe. Isn't that interesting? Yes. Now, if you do martial arts, if, for example, knife fighting is deadly, but if I only taught them knife fighting, they might necessarily not go through that. Because in knife fighting, you don't physically get dominated so brutally as like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. You don't get as dominant. You can still get lucky. You can still cut people, and you can still feel like, yeah, well, at least I cut him one time. He cut me 100 times, but I cut him one time. In Jiu-Jitsu, you cannot do that. When somebody's higher level than you cannot defeat them. It's like impossible to defeat them. When the level gap is so big, it's impossible to score a lucky shot, because they feel and know exactly what you're doing at every point. They know every limb, what every limb is doing. They know every angle that you can potentially move, because there's only limited moves you can do, you can think of, that human beings are possible of doing, because the body has physical limitations as well. So with a high-level person, if you just started, you literally cannot get lucky. It's impossible to get lucky. So it makes you completely confront that utter helplessness, and how you've just been literally like As a man, it's like, it must be the closest you can feel to being raped. Because you literally feel violated. You feel like, holy crap, I can't believe I just got destroyed by another man. When you first start. But it makes you stronger inside. It makes you stronger. And that's why True Father loved this country. He wanted me to train the entire world, young people. I was going to have, even at events, on the yearly large events that we had, we're going to have MMA fights. We're going to have Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu matches. We're going to have invite the top fighters in the world. I was at a training with the UFC guys. I mean, it was like, it was no joke, no joke. But of course, God had other plans. And in the end, it's interesting because all this experience helps myself even open my eyes to why firearms are absolutely the best way to protect people. It's like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in a brass casing. Something that's even more deadly than BJJ in a brass casing that you can project over distance against an opponent that doesn't even have to touch you. You can stop an opponent before you even have to lay hands on him. You can stop a mass shooting. You can stop a dictator. You can free slaves and free your ancestors. As that video said, isn't that amazing? I gotta produce some videos like that. That would be so cool if we are able to produce videos like that on a weekly basis. Just like NRA producing these high-level videos where they're very artistic, poetic pieces on why people should have guns. But especially Rod of Iron Ministry, man, this is like something we need to do. We need to produce this, create cool, dope ashtray videos with slow-mo and everything, edited in really nice, where we're spreading the message of the Rod of Iron to the body of Christ. Man, there's a freaking movement rising, folks. There's a freaking movement. I got already a couple people in our community that's going to Rod of Iron camo their cars to stand with me, to stand with the Second King, and not just have me out there in the open just by myself. I have a couple folks in the community that are going to Rod of Iron camo their cars too to stand in solidarity with the Second King and help me burden my burden. And then we're going to eventually have like a convoy motorcade, like driving through town. I bet you Newfoundland will probably invite us to the parade. If we have all these Jeeps.
Well, we get invited every year anyway.
No, to drive in the motorcade.
Yeah.
If we have all these Jeeps that are Rod of Iron camoed out, because this is biblical camo, you're wearing the biblical camo, you're wearing the Bible on you, and you still have a disruptive camo pattern, okay? But can you imagine in the Newfoundland parade or whatever parade, if they invite us, we have like 20, 30, 40, it'll only grow. Even John, the brother who's Catholic, who's not Catholic anymore, but he said, man, I want to camo my car too. Maybe Chief will camo his car. I gave him permission to use the Rod of Iron on his products. So maybe he'll camo his car. But how sweet would that be, man? It's like, what church you go to? Oh, they got a Rod of Iron camo car. I know what church they go to. But when we get together, think how much of a tremendous presence that will be. Man, we're driving down in those Jeeps together. Shish! You're driving it on town, everybody in a freaking motorcade. And then the parade, we can mount 50 cals and AR-15s on top of the vehicles. How freaking awesome would that be? Like have a parade celebrating the Second Amendment and civilian arms and a Rod of Iron as Christians that have the power that God has given them. The Rod of Iron is a religious accoutrement. This is what people don't understand. It's a religious object. It's an object that is given it's not only biblical, it is the object by which God will rule the nations. It is literally a religious object. So it's not just a tool. It's not just a force multiplier. It is a religious item. Wow, think about it when Christians understand this. The crown and the Rod of Iron are religious accoutrements. Accoutrements. They're powerful symbology, but also practical symbology as well. Powerful physical deterrence against Satan and wolves and demons that roam the earth in the bodies of evil. Wow. Wow, 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 folks. That would be amazing. Join the second king with the iron rod camo in solidarity and drive with me. Ride with me. Rod of iron rollers. Run. Let's ride. I'm going to make a promo video or something like that. We'll make a cool little promo video. Rod of iron rollers. Let's ride. Let's roll. Oh, let's roll. That actually matches with martial arts training too. Rod of iron rollers. Let's roll, baby. Oh, it's coming, it's coming. See, the inspiration is coming. All right, folks, we'll be right back after this short break. Stay with us on the King's Report.
There was a lot of things I really liked about Diella from the very beginning. You know, I loved her passion, the way she sang with the church, the loyalty she had to her parents, and you know, I really wanted somebody who's loyal to True Father, and I knew if she's loyal to her parents, that's a good sign. And the one memory I really have, it really helped me really decide I really want to get blessed to her, was she said that I'd always be second. And she'd always put God before me, and I knew if she was willing to put God before me, I could like fully trust her, and that was something that really moved me to, like, I knew at that point, like, I wanted to get blessed to her.
Okay, so at first when we met, we completely put each other in boxes, from the famous box, and I don't know, I was praying and praying and praying, and I was just not sure in the beginning. We both weren't, and but we just continued talking, and but for some reason it just didn't seem to work because we were just too focused on ourselves, I think. So, but I kept praying and praying, and then one day I was very frustrated, and I even talked with my mom, and she told me, you know what, Diella, I can see he really loves God, and if he loves God, he can fully love you. And I think that's what I needed to hear, and from that moment on, everything changed.
Car Arms, Magnum Research, and Auto Ordnance. The Car Firearms Group, with a diverse product line that blends American craftsmanship with cutting-edge technology. It's no secret why gun enthusiasts choose Car Firearms Group. From the Desert Eagle and Baby Desert Eagle made famous by Hollywood, the history of the 1911 and the Tommy gun, to the best in compact concealed carry. Car Firearms Group is not only the first name in personal defense, it's a name that has earned the respect of gun enthusiasts around the world. Concealment, innovative technology, value, accuracy, and history. Car Firearms Group, made in the USA. Visit car.com today.
And we are back. Welcome back to the King's Report, Monday, December 18th, 2017, folks. Second King reporting from the Cheongguk Palace Studios. All the kings and queens of the Kingdom of God, good morning. It is 5:42 a.m. Now, we were talking about during the break about the whole army of Jeeps and the whole rod of iron movement. If you can imagine, all you guys, most of you guys have been trained at MFT anyways, so you know how to make money and to raise funds for yourself on the road. The only difference here, when you raise funds for yourself, you can keep them. You can keep the funds you raised, and you would put that in. You would keep that in order to buy the accoutrements of sovereignty, which are private property and firearms, or the ability to defend yourself. Rod of iron and crown. You see that? And imagine if we had 10,000 Jeeps. We had 100,000 Jeeps. Right? Of rod of iron camoed out Jeeps. Imagine, and they're all heavily armed. And crowns. And imagine if you would have that many Jeeps, you could literally cross any bound border in the United States, and they couldn't do crap. It would be such a demonstration of freedom. And when we're able to do that across the world, which Father talked about the Bering Strait Bridge, which is literally, we were talking during the break, like Father was envisioning Cheongguk, where we can actually travel freely across the whole world. When we can take our overlanders and Jeeps, folks, our rod of iron Jeeps, with our rod of iron and crown, and drive it across the world, from Father said New York through Alaska to Siberia, to Russia, to Asia, China, you can stop in Korea, get some tteokbokki, China, India, Europe, Africa, and then drive back home. Father wanted to do that. There it is. There's the overlanders that are coming. That's a computer image of it. Look how cool that camel, man. Everybody was like, holy shish. Everybody loved that camel. I mean, I already got a couple people that said they're going to camel out their trucks and SUVs too. To stand in solidarity with the king. So I'm not the only one driving that kind of thing around, which it's pretty cool. But again, it attracts a ton of attention. And I'm saying, it's not like I like attention or something. I'm just, everywhere I go, I don't want to be swarmed. But it's a show of numbers. We show our biblical scripture in a cool, trendy, godly way on our vehicles. And I already got a couple people. But think about it. As this overlander and Jeep movement spreads, and people are encouraged to express your faith in God's kingdom by this cool camel pattern. And we have 10,000, 100,000. Man, we could go visit the president. Say, hey, President Trump, we're all here. We love you. And drive back home. When we can travel in our overlanders and our MFT machines, in our King Mobiles and Queen Mobiles, oh, we will truly be free. Truly be free. That's amazing. Look how cool. That looks amazing. Like when I see that from far away like that, it looks completely like disruptive pattern of camo. You can't tell what it until you get closer. It's like, oh, dang. Zoom in on that. Can you guys zoom in on that picture? Let's zoom in on that bad boy. Zoom in real close. Oh, you see that? See the Rev 1915 camo, the different colored guns. And of course here, I told our very skillful designer to put in both urban camo and wilderness camo. So in both those patterns, we have both shade urban and we have wilderness camo. Okay? So that will operate and be disruptive in both shade in the urban environments, as well as in the obviously the wilderness. You're not gonna see that thing. That thing will disappear into the brush. You just park that behind a bush, and you're not gonna see it. You know. But boy, oh boy, folks, it's amazing. The rod of iron revolution. The rod of iron, focusing on the rod of iron and meditating and praying on the rod of iron and really creating the rod of iron Federation for World Peace. That's going to transform Christianity, because Christianity must be forced to confront reality of its own scripture and how God has prophesied his scripture, through his scripture, what his kingdom will be like. Christians cannot get around the rod of iron. It is the central way God will rule his kingdom. But God is not a tyrant. Okay, that's what we have to remember. God is not a tyrant, as many Christians secretly desire for. They're basically secret commies. God is not a secret tyrant. His kingdom will be the New Jerusalem. It will be the new Eden, right? The new Garden of Eden. What was lost in the garden will be restored. So God will rule with the rod of iron. There will be judges. There will be judgment and division of good and evil, yes. But again, he will appoint the judges, and that will be the saints. The good people will be armed. Will have the rod of iron. The good people will be able to bring about judgment. If you find your wife banging some guy, you can shoot them both. If you find your husband, there's equal rights. If you find your husband banging some biscuit when you come back home, you can shoot them both. And probably when that gets brought to before the judge, they'll say, next case, next case. It was the heat of the moment, act. Next case. Because men and women will have the rod of iron. And if you're there to defend yourself and defend you, in that case, maybe in some places you'll have the outlawing of adultery. And people will be maybe executed by adultery, but I don't think it'll be the mainstream. But in a crime of passion, where you find somebody in the bed with your spouse and you shoot them, the judge and jury may say, well, we kind of get it. We kind of understand so we're not going to press charges. Next case. But even if you don't have that, I'm talking about, you're still going to have to be a judge in the sense that on the local level, wickedness will be punished. You'll be called at times to be a part of the jury. You see what I'm saying? You'll be called upon as a citizen and a civilian and one who has kingly rights and duties to serve on a jury, to serve on your local law enforcement team, to serve on the people militia, in the event that you actually are invaded by foreign invaders. So God will not rule as a tyrant in the kingdom of God. And this is radically, this will be a reformation, the second reformation in the Christian church. Hopefully. But it's like the second reformation. It will totally transform. If the body of Christ grasps this, it will completely transform the nature of modern Christianity, which has become state-run and controlled by government. It will radically transform Christianity to understand and be the actual mirror of the kingdom that is to come and be ruled by the rod of iron. And you can't get around that as a Christian. You cannot get around crowns and you can't get around rod of irons. You can't. That's the way Jesus will rule. And I'm saying, but he's not going to rule like that with tyranny, okay? He's going to rule with that, and his people will rule with that in freedom, sovereignty, and justice. Because tyranny and Hitlerian Stalinism and Mao Zedong communism is against God's nature. He's not going to rule a nation like that. And the body of Christ is so spiritually communist that they literally think, at least in their mind, they don't express it verbally, but they think in their mind when Jesus comes back, they're going to be on welfare. Literally. They'll blame the liberal lunatics for being on welfare. And then the majority of Christians think when Jesus Christ returns, of course he'll return with a new name in Revelation 3:12 very clearly says that. But when Christ returns, they literally think they're going to be on welfare. That he's going to provide everything. That they'll have no responsibilities. That's so unbiblical, it's so selfish, and it's so crazy an ideology. It's so irresponsible a faith. I couldn't even call it faith. Because it's clearly unbiblical. It's very clear that God appoints us in the kingdom to have responsibilities in the kingdom. You don't get to be you don't get to complain about welfare recipients on this side of heaven. And then when the kingdom comes, be a welfare recipient. Do you see what I'm saying? How ridiculous is that? That's so unbelievably irresponsible. It's ridiculous. But you ask most Christians, they literally think that. That's like the common, common consensus notion of the kingdom that's unspoken. It's crazy. And that's why these highly responsible veterans and highly responsible warriors do not want to go to church because they're being taught total irresponsibility. It's tacit teaching of irresponsibility, spiritual irresponsibility. Which is the reason why the church, the Christian body of Christ now has so many damn problems. Because it's so spiritually welfare mentality, slave mentality, not king mentality, not rod of iron mentality. Boy, think about what a huge deterrent for adulterers it is when the judge throws out cases where the husband comes back, finds his wife with another man and shoots them both. Or the wife comes back and finds her husband with another woman and shoots them both. Think about what a healthy deterrent that will be for husbands and wives. What a healthy thing that will be. That if you are banging some girl or banging some guy, your life is in danger. And the judge and jury is going to say, you're off the hook. What a great deterrent that's going to be for adultery. Does that mean it's going to be some centralized law? No, but it's going to be the law of the spiritual law of the conscience of the land, you see. Does that mean everybody who commits adultery will be shot in bed? No. There will be many people that will forgive their spouse. But if they do it again, they're going to shoot them. Right? Oh, Lord. This is a natural place of God's law. The Bible says the law of God is written on our hearts. We know what is right and we know what is wrong. We know adultery should be punished. But we know that also there's an element of forgiveness. But that is left up to the individual person. And or the judge and not the judge, the jury. It's a place of true justice and goodness, because why? Goodness is incentivized. To be good, to be faithful to your spouse is incentivized. To not be faithful is tremendous liability. And obviously, if you're faithful to your spouse, you're more trustable generally, sociologically, you're more trustable. So people will want to do more business with you. And that will just help your prosperity. So you have a direct benefit and incentive to be loyal and loving and respectful to your husband and loving to your wife. You have a natural incentive to do so. You see? And God doesn't have to rule with an iron fist. He doesn't have to rule with a totalitarian rule. This is a natural place of conscience where there are consequences for behavior. There is freedom, tremendous freedom, but there's also tremendous responsibility. Wickedness is not bailed out. Wickedness is not paid for by the taxpayer. Wickedness is not paid for by the state, which of course steals it from taxpayers. Taxpayers are not, people are not forced to pay for other people's wickedness and crazy choices. You make a crazy choice, you're free to do so, but you will pay for it. You make irresponsible choices, you're free to do so, but you will pay for it. You will not be able to force normal, hardworking people to pay for your wicked choices. Yes, a kingdom that is coming. Yes. You will not be able to use the strong arm of the state, the murderous, bloody arm of the state, to make people pay for your wickedness. Yes! You will have to pay for it. You make that choice, you're paying. What a beautiful kingdom. What a just kingdom. What a fair kingdom. It's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. And that camel, folks, when we're going to make all sorts of cool stuff. John Clark would say, hey, when we're traveling and overlanding across the world, we could sell these items. We could have all these cool mugs and, wrought of iron coffee mugs and coffee. We could even bring our wrought of iron trailer. How's that? We'll bring our wrought of iron premium coffee, non-GM organic coffee and bakery in the trailer. Well, and hey, you could even have a wrought of iron ice cream truck. You could have wrought of iron ice cream in the wintertime. I'm sorry, in the summertime. You could have wrought of iron roses. Oh my gosh, I gotta tell Greg, I have to hurry up and copyright. Greg, we must copyright the wrought of iron camo. Quickly, we must copyright this. Apparently it's easy to do. It's easy to copyright stuff, so we need to copyright that camo so nobody can steal it. And we need to copyright wrought of iron coffee so nobody steals it. Kukjong thought it was a great idea, to start the young people, the young kids, and this will be a private business, to operate a wrought of iron coffee shop and bakery. He said you would basically need permit and permission from landowners to park in their space, and you would have to get a permit from the county, apparently for just a couple of $1,000s, he said. But then you'll be able to do it, and that'd be great. Why conservatives got to drink poisonous chemical coffee? Conservatives should be drinking the non-GMO, organic, healthy coffee, premium grade, because they're the premium folks. We'll also serve liberal lunatics too. We won't discriminate. As long as you don't got a problem with our AR-15 on our logo. And a crown. Oh, Lord mercy. But we got to copyright. We got to copyright the wrought of iron stuff. We got to copyright because people are going to try to steal it. They're going to try to pretend that they made it up and they got the revelation for it, when it was clearly the three kingships that got the revelation about the wrought of iron. Clearly. There's nobody in the Christian world that has got the revelation of the wrought of iron. None. Yes, you have pastors that talk about Second Amendment, but they're talking about being Americans, responsible Americans. and upholding the Second Amendment, which of course I teach too. But I'm talking about the rod of iron, a responsibility of the kingdom of God as exemplified in the Bible, and our Christian duty to have a crown and a rod of iron. Ooh, you ain't seen no preacher talk about that. We are the first to do it. The three kingships are the one that are talking about the rod of iron. So, it is a new day, folks. Hey, hopefully we'll be able to make, work with some kind of company to get those skins where you can just stick them onto your car and just use a heat gun to just melt it onto your car. I guess that's how they do it. It's like a skin. You just put a skin on, stick it on. You can do panels, whatever you want to do, in any style you want. Robbie has a white van. He said he's going to do it on his white van. I got a couple other people that said they're going to do it on their SUVs and trucks. Hey, man, that looks sweet. Hey, we should get Brother Sawyer. He's got a nice big old F-150 truck. That would look dope in a rod of iron, too. But the Rod of Iron Federation for World Peace is coming soon, folks. Get your cars ready and revving. Holy rollers of the kingdom of God. Rod of Iron rollers. Let's roll. We'll be right back.
this world I'll overcome. My God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. He's roaring like a lion. He's roaring. Let heaven roar and fire fall. Come shake the ground with the sound of revival. Let heaven roar and fire fall. Come shake the ground with the sound of revival. Let heaven roar and fire fall. Come shake the ground with the sound of revival. My God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. He's roaring, he's roaring like a lion. He's roaring, he's roaring, he's roaring like a lion, roaring like a lion.
God's not dead.
Let love explode and bring the dead to life. A love so bold to see a revolution somehow. Let love explode and bring the dead to life. A love so bold to bring a revolution somehow. Now I'm lost in your freedom, and this world I'll overcome. My God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. He's roaring, he's roaring like a lion. Let hope arise and make the darkness hide. My faith is dead, I need a resurrection somehow. Now I'm lost in your freedom, and this world I'll overcome. My God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. He's roaring, he's roaring like a lion. He's roaring, he's roaring. Let heaven roar and fire fall. Come shake the ground with the sound of revival. Let heaven roar and fire fall. Come shake the ground with the sound of revival. Let heaven roar and fire fall. Come shake the ground with the sound of revival. Our God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. He's roaring like a lion. He's roaring alive. He's roaring like a lion. Let love explode and bring the dead to life. A love so long to see a revolution somehow. Let love explode and bring the dead to life. A love so long to bring a revolution somehow. Now I'm lost in your freedom. And this world I'll overcome. My God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. He's roaring like a lion.
At break of day, in hope we rise, we speak your name.
And we are back. Welcome back to the Kingsport, Monday, December 18th, 2017. Let's now go to our headline news of the day with Tim, the Agent Elder. Tim.
There was a big mess at Atlanta Airport
Ooh,
yesterday.
That's right.
Really terrible situation where power was completely lost to the airport, only the airport. Of course, planes could not take off. In fact, planes headed to Atlanta were given what was called a ground stop. In other words, they had to hold at the airports where they were departing from. They couldn't depart.
What about the ones that are flying in the air already? They turned
Well,
around?
they were diverted to other airports. Also,
Wow.
international flights that were diverted to other airports.
That's amazing.
And they finally got the power back on just before midnight, and flights are going in and out of Atlanta now, but the effects will be lasting for days. Of
Wow.
course, this is one of the busiest travel.
6 hours of darkness.
6 hours of darkness, yes.
It shows you what an EMP attack would do nationwide.
Yes.
It'd be devastating.
Well, in this case, Chick-fil-A, for example, provided 2,000 meals and this kind of thing. So
Wow,
that kind of thing would
Chick-fil-A.
not.
That's a Christian company.
Yes, so
Wow,
that
that's
would not
amazing.
happen during an EMP attack because Chick-fil-A would also be affected.
They would. They wouldn't be
this
able to fry no chicken.
This was only one facility that happened to be the busiest airport in the country that was affected, but it gives, I guess,
That's
a small
amazing.
taste of, when the lights go out, people get insecure.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Well, it's like that. I was watching Grossman the other day. He's the ranger guy, and he was saying he was walking with his grandson in the night. Anyways, when he was younger, walking because he only had time and just barely got home once a week, etc. So he would try to make time where he takes his kids into the wilderness. That's where he would recharge, and he's always been outdoors in the jungles and all this kind of stuff. So he would take his grandson on hikes, and one day his grandson said, "Grandpappy, it's really dark out here." And he said, there's many strange things in the night," or something like that. The kid said something like that. Or the kid said, "There's many scary things in the night." And the grandpappy said, "Yeah, that's us. We're the ones who move in the night." And he was trying to teach his grandson, a little boy, that look, the dark is not always something you have to use. You have to be scared of. Many times, the special operations guys have to use darkness as cover.
Yes.
Or use it as a tool.
Yes, it protects you.
Even Musashi talked about when you're fighting somebody with swordsman, that you would use the sunlight as a tool, okay? Yes. And you would use the sunlight to blind your opponent and have the sun at your back, so the light is shining his face, and he's getting blinded by the sunlight as you attack him. Or you fake and create an opening, then he swings at you and you slash him down, So ninjas and people who are engaged in combat have to deal with natural elements also being as tools. Chief was saying you can take cover and you maybe conceal yourself behind trees or behind rocks, or if you're behind a sand bank, just a natural sand dune or dirt dune, it will stop bullets. So using your natural landscape was one of the things Chief was telling us. You have to have your awareness open. You have to see everything as a potential weapon. A stone can be a weapon. A branch, a stick, pointed stick can be a weapon. You see, you change your mindset so you're not only seeing, I have to, he's saying, what if you run out of bullets in a gunfight? Then you have to create a weapon. You know what I'm saying? And that's a good mentality to be able to spot and identify things. That's why I think people like Jackie Chan's movies, because they're very creative in the way he incorporates. Let's get some Jackie Chan clips, get some Jackie Chan highlight clips, where he incorporates the different things in his environment to use as a weapon. He'll use a ladder. He'll use and he does it on purpose. Obviously they're choreographed, but it's the creative idea that all things you're using for your advantage. Since we have ninja, we should make a couple of fun fight scenes like that too. Okay? Hold on. Let me show this Jackie Chan highlight real quick.
We got through one headline.
He got the one headline. Let me show you one Jackie Chan highlight clip, okay? Because he's so creative in how he uses his sets as weapons. Okay, go ahead. That's so fake. That's so fake. Now, obviously, there's a lot of fake stuff in here.
Jackie Chan, though, is a supporter of the Communist Party of China.
He is.
Yes.
That's important because he does fake martial arts. Okay, he was famous for doing Drunken Monkey. I never saw this movie. There's another one. What the heck is that? And people don't fly around though when you kick them in the head like that. People have realized that this stuff is fake. It's highly dramatized. It's fun to watch, but it's highly dramatized. That would have no impact in reality. Okay, let's see what some of his more modern ones were. They're more modern setting. This is like an old kung fu one. Oh yeah, there is a ladder. That's the one in Rush Hour. See, so he uses different items in his thing, in his choreographed scenes. Now, obviously, fighting with that is going to be different than a choreographed scene. But anyways, the point is he's creative in the concept, in the idea, okay, that let's incorporate normal accoutrements and items and show how they can be used as weapons, okay? Okay, and that's kind of like the, I guess one of the examples there with the ladder. Okay, anyways, you get the point. There's Jet Li and Jackie Chan in Forbidden. See how fake this is? See, people who do real martial art training, real combat arts, you see this, you can enjoy it for pure entertainment, but you notice how fake it is. You would never be able to fight like that. Absolutely never. And it would have no power. Okay, it looks fancy. I have to say, it looks cool, but it's totally fake. Okay. All right, folks, let's get back to our headline news of the day. Back to Tim, the Agent Elder. Take it away, Tim.
Meanwhile, in Washington, Mueller email grabbed Rocks DC. Mueller got a hold of about 10,000.
Go ahead, let's read that article. Can you read the article? No, we did good. We got through one article. Let's go read the Mueller article. Because let's at least read that headline article.
Okay. Trump says my people are very upset about Mueller obtaining emails because he got emails from the transition team in an inappropriate or not in the legal way.
There you go. And Mueller's there he is posing as the legal man who knows all. He doesn't break any rules. He's so honest when he's a known criminal under Hillary Clinton.
Officials of President Trump's transition team plan to ask Special Counsel Robert Mueller to return, quote, many tens of thousands of transition emails they contend were unlawfully provided to him.
Wow, they were the ones. They were the ones colluding. They were the ones conspiring against Trump.
But the prosecutor's office says emails being used in the investigation were properly obtained. President Trump, returning to the White House on Sunday, said when asked about the emails not looking good, it's not looking good. It's quite sad to see that. My people are very upset about it. I can't imagine there's anything on them, frankly, because as we said, there's no collusion. There's no collusion whatever. A lot of lawyers thought that was pretty sad. What's new, a source close to the Trump transition, which still exists as a legal entity so it can shut down what was once a 1,000-person operation, said the transition will send a letter to Mueller informing him that some of the emails were privileged and asking for their return. The transition said it is willing to provide Mueller with vetted emails. The source told me what they did is totally illegal and they need to fix it. But
you understand that these people were getting involved to try to manipulate the results of a election in the United States, and then they were blaming Russia for doing it.
Yes.
These people are the criminals that were doing it. Ridiculous. Go ahead, David.
But Peter Carr, spokesman for the special counsel's office, told Axios earlier this morning, when we have obtained emails in the course of our ongoing criminal investigation, we have secured either the account owner's consent or appropriate criminal process, unquote. Be smart. Republicans who have been raising increasing questions about Mueller's office are prepared to argue that if emails were obtained by questionable means, they could taint or undermine the investigation. Axios reported yesterday afternoon that officials of Trump's presidential transition team, his office for the 73 days between the election and the inauguration, discovered that Mueller had obtained huge caches of emails from the General Services Administration, the government agency that hosted the transition's ptt.gov emails. We're told that the fight involves emails from the accounts of 12 officials, including members of the political leadership and foreign policy team. One of the accounts alone included 7,000 emails. Mueller had the emails when his prosecutors used them as the basis for questions to witnesses, the sources said. GSA declined to comment. The transition emails are said to include sensitive exchanges on matters such as potential appointments, gossip about the views of particular senators involved in the confirmation process, speculation about vulnerabilities of Trump nominees, strategizing about press statements, and policy planning on everything from war to taxes. Mueller is using the emails to confirm things and to get new leads, a transition source told me.
Is that?
Charging unlawful conduct, Corey Langhofer, counsel for the transition team, wrote in a letter to congressional committees Saturday that career staff at the General Services Administration, i.e. Deep State, have unlawfully produced a transition team private materials, including privileged communications to the special counsel's office. So obviously what happened here was that the General Services Administration was hosting the transition team's server. And so that gave them access to the emails.
Privileged emails.
And they transferred these emails to the special prosecutor's office.
They're cheating. They're completely cheating. They're trying to get inside information on what the Trump team is going to do.
Right.
That's like if you're playing a basketball game, you getting a hidden camera and putting it on your opponent's team's basketball net or whatever on the screen, so that you can observe what plays they're going to do or what football commands they're going to do, or if you're in MMA or you're fighting somebody, you get secret video about how they're training to fight you. So that's crazy.
So the Trump team is saying that this was a violation of the Fourth Amendment protection against unreasonable search and seizure.
Yes, and they were using the power of their deep state because they were in power.
Right.
It's not like they were a separate company. They were using the power of the federal government. They're completely corrupt. Completely corrupt.
Additionally, certain portions of transition materials to the special counsel's office obtained from the GSA, including materials that are susceptible to privilege claims, have been leaked to the press by unknown persons.
There you go. That was, well, look like they are now getting exposed. The more they try to say Trump was conspiring and Trump was colluding with the Russians, the more it comes out that they were colluding with the Russians. The more that they were conspiring using nefarious illegal means to obtain documents for their own benefit using the federal bureaucracies and the deep state apparatus. Totally.
So this shows that there are people in the government who will go to any lengths to overturn the results of a lawful election. That is the threat to democracy.
That's an absolute threat.
Yes.
They're absolutely waging war on America.
Yes.
This would absolutely be considered an act of war by a different power. If a different power did that, this is our own government enacting an act of war on its citizens.
Yeah.
And now they become exposed by it.
Yeah. So obviously,
President Trump.
Whoever did this in the GSA needs to be identified and fired.
Oh my gosh!
And prosecuted.
Prosecuted at the full power of the law.
Yes.
They need to get treason charges. They need to get all that kind of stuff on them. Put them behind bars forever, or worse.
Yes.
Absolute ridiculous.
Meanwhile, Trump says he has no plans to fire Mueller. Democrats were trying to ramp up the tension by saying, "Oh, Mueller's going to be fired by Christmas," but Trump says, "No, that's not going to happen." Trump lawyer Mueller improperly obtained transition docs, tens of thousands of emails. Special counsel fired before Christmas? Question mark. Holder vows protests. So they're trying to create basically a straw man here. Magazine Wisconsin Political Surveillance State. Obama derailed secret fight against Hezbollah for Iran deal. So when that Iran nuclear deal was being discussed, Obama put a stop on the fight against Hezbollah, which is supported by Iran. California wildfire continues to grow as strong shifting winds bring new dangers. Broke Johnny Depp sued by lawyers he went after for $30 million. Homeland boss defends shows explicit depiction of female president as villain. How can a woman be a villain? No. Please don't say it's true. I thought all women were saints. Divorce making American families 66% bigger, because you got all these stepdads and stepmoms and et cetera, et cetera. Step siblings and cousins, steps cousins. Cities face crisis as RVs become home of last resort. That's actually an article about San Diego, where people can't afford to rent, and so the RVs become their homes. They can't afford to park at RV parks either, so they're just parking along the street. Uptick in HIV raises resurgent epidemic fears. World's most expensive home, another bauble for Saudi prince. Grieving daughter to sprinkle mother's ashes on Christmas dinner. Yikes. Don't invite me, please. Condé Nast to announce layoffs after facing terrible year. In football, drama, Brady wins over Steelers. Refs gift game. Controversy as piece of paper used for crucial Cowboys call. Vince McMahon bringing back the XFL. Ex-NFL star accuses Hollywood agency of retaliation after top agent groped him. Panther owner selling team as allegations swirl. Report NBC a payout for Chris Matthews' mouth. NBC silent on if more claims exist. Capitol Hill consumed by paranoia. Kiss Gene Simmons sued for sex battery by radio personality. List the 97 men and one woman taken down. The Hollywood freak out over awards season after Me Too. Hashtag Me Too. Rebellion. Republican suburbs offer Dems path to House control. Biggest lead in congressional preference since 2008. Next year's midterm election. Then we have a couple of articles in support of homosexuals. Stefano Gabbana, don't call me gay, I'm simply man, word invented by those who need to label. Prince Harry interviews Obama. British embassy employee found dead in Beirut after being raped and murdered. I read that article, and it sounds like maybe she was not just a regular diplomat, but maybe the article sounds like maybe she was a member of an intelligence organization. Pope media sins by dredging up. Oh, wait, let's do, it skipped on me here. Once taboo, China listens to USA contingencies in North Korea. Weapons of mass destruction removal drill. The U.S. and South Korea are doing drills about how to do that. Another missile test coming. But it's good that China is starting to listen to the USA. I have a report in a South Korean paper about a recent seminar in China, which gives some very enlightening things. Inflammatory letter sheds light on Uber alleged misconduct. New Twitter rules may trigger. My screen keeps moving around because Drudge always updates every few seconds. And the article, the headline I was just reading disappeared. Pope media sins by dredging up, sensationalizing old news. New rules in saint-making process. Update: Eminem comes for Trump and whiffs. Famed lawyer F. Lee Bailey still fighting to clear O.J. name. Sex between monkeys and deer may be new behavioral tradition. A dog sold survivor after plane crashes. And Republicans face a 5-day scramble to pass the tax bill this week and avoid a government shutdown. A precipice of major end-of-year victory. D.C. bureaucrats quietly chipping away at Trump agenda. Debt bear stalks Goldilocks economy. Disney Fox films controlling 92% of weekend box office. A former Fox News contributor who settled sex harassment lawsuit breaks confidentiality agreement. A Pentagon mysterious UFO program. Actually, Reid, what was his name? The former Senate Majority Leader was pushing the Pentagon to do more to investigate UFOs.
Harry Reid.
Harry Reid, yes.
Pathetic troglodyte.
Navy jet encounters unknown object that operated like nothing seen before. Amazon probe by advertising watchdog for duping customers. Shame as drivers complain of grueling conditions. Erdogan, Turkey to open embassy in East Jerusalem. Snowiest town Albany sees snowiest town already sees 83 inches. The sun is blank. NASA data shows dimming. That'd be a lot worse than in Atlanta airport if the sun goes dark.
That would be a problem.
That would be a problem. Thought police instill fear in China.
There it is, the liberal, trendy, open society China.
Surveillance cams, face scans, thousands vanish.
That's how free you are in slavery China.
Women mauled to death by her pit bulls while taking them for a walk. California offers second chance to people convicted of marijuana crimes. Those are the headlines on Drudge.
Alrighty, folks. Now let's go to another interesting story. Will U.S. Marines fight the North Koreans in pajamas? This is by Yahoo.com. Pajama-like tropical uniforms are coming sooner than you think to the United States Marine Corps.
Yeah, guess what? North Korea's not in the tropics.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think they'll be wearing them there.
That is, North Korea is cold, cold, cold. It's like Pennsylvania cold.
Oh, it's colder than Pennsylvania.
In the summertime, however, it will be hot. It will be warmer. Will U.S. Marines fight the North Koreans in pajamas if the U.S. actually goes back to war with North Korea? American troops are going to need a uniform that is lightweight, breathable, and provides adequate camouflage in the forest, complete with a solid pair of boots for humping up and down all those big mountains. Let's say in the summertime. Fortunately for Marines, the Corps has been working hard to ensure they'll have both. Lieutenant Colonel Christopher Madeline of Marine Corps Systems Command. Oh my gosh. Look up on YouTube, Wraith Tactical CARR bag. Wraith Tactical, that is WRAITH, Wraith Tactical CARR bag. Told Marine Corps Times on December 9th that tropic uniforms and boots should be available starting in late 2018. Members of 3rd Battalion, 3rd Marines began testing several prototypes more than a year ago in Oahu, Hawaii. And the reviews are stellar. They use terms like fast drying, lightweight, it felt like pajamas. Madeline, program manager for infantry combat equipment, told Marine Corps Times, those are all good words to meet what we want with the tropical uniform. The winning prototype is 30% lighter than the Marine Corps combat utility uniform, according to MCSC. Even better, the elbow and knee groin areas are reinforced with slightly heavier fabric to provide abrasion resistance. This should come as great news to anyone who has ever climbed over a wall in Iraq or Afghanistan and then had to spend the rest of their patrol with their junk fully exposed. Boots by Danner, they make very good boots. Bates and Rock boots are also undergoing testing to determine which is the most deserving to adorn the feet of Marines. All three models are equipped with self-cleaning outsole and dry faster than the boots Marines currently wear. They're also, according to MCSC, a half pound to 1 pound lighter than the current boot and also substantially lighter when wet. Madeline told Marine Corps Times that the Corps is now toying with the idea of allowing any of the three boots to be worn by Marines. Everyone wins. The tropical uniforms and boots will not be sea bag items, which is what sailors and Marines call the stuff they're required to have. Instead, they'll be optional. Troops preparing to deploy to a tropical war zone like North Korea will be able to pick up a few pairs at their nearest individual issue facility or post-exchange. They may be a little chilly in North Korea with those light wicking layers. The Marine Corps new uniforms are part of a bigger push to better equip soldiers for war in the Pacific Theater. Early this year, the Army announced that it will begin fielding its new improved hot weather combat uniform to soldiers in Hawaii in January. It is lighter and more breathable than what soldiers wear now and will be the new Operational Camouflage Pattern, or OCP, which resembles multicam. Thousands of soldiers with the Hawaii-based 25th Infantry Division were also recently issued the Army's new jungle combat boots. January 2008 is going to be huge, Captain Daniel Ferenzi says. Assistant Manager of the Army's Extreme Weather Clothing and Footwear Department told Military.com in August. They're going to be fleeced in OCP with jungle boots and a hot weather combat uniform. Can't wait to see all the selfies.
Just to let you know, the current temperature in Pyongyang, North Korea is 23 degrees, going down to 12 degrees tonight.
There you go. You may be a little chilly in those fast-speaking layers, thinking that it's like tropical Thailand or something. You may be a little chilly
FYI.
in North Korea. I've been there, and it's cold as hell.
Well, actually, you were there about 6 years ago today, I think.
Is it? I
Around
don't
this
know.
time, because
I
right
don't
now they're
remember
celebrating the sixth, or not celebrating, but marking the 6th anniversary of the death of Kim Jong Il, and you
I
went
don't
to his
remember.
funeral.
Yeah, I did. I
Yes.
went on Father's behalf. Okay, folks, let's check out Wraith Tackle. Check out this amazing new technology. Check this out. This is a really cool system. I'm going to check these guys out at SHOT Show when I'm in Vegas after the Switzerland conference. Checking out, being at the gun show, and we'll be displaying our rod of iron car. So everybody will check out, at gun show, be able to see the Rod of Iron Ministries car. All right, go ahead, play this clip. Let's go.
All units, report of an active shooter. White male, 5'9", armed with assault rifle, wearing black shirt and blue jeans. EMS has been notified and will stand by until scene is safe. All units, emergency traffic only. Tactical channel active.
We've been training active shooter response basically since 2004.
Why they call them active
Police
shooter?
officers put
They
go
should
bags in
active
their
killer,
cars,
not active
they put
shooter.
magazines
Hold
in
on,
it,
pause
they
that
throw
a second.
everything in the bag. We
This is a
realize
good
that
point. Hold on, pause that a second. This is a good point. They call them active shooter because that's a propaganda term to demonize all shooters. You're a shooter when you train on the range shooting. You're a shooter. Shooters are not the bad thing. It's these mass murderers who are the active murderers, active killers. That's how they should refer to them. And that's what Dave Grossman was saying. He's right. We shouldn't refer to them as active shooters because active shooters are people who shoot guns. They're not all bad. Active shooters should be referred to as active killers because they're there to kill and murder. They are the evil ones. They're not shooting there for sport. They're not shooting there for whatever. They're there to kill. And so Dave Grossman just gets really upset when people call it active shooter in the media, and even in the gun community, people call it active shooter by following what the media calls it. But he's saying and he trains law enforcement, he's saying that's such a bad thing to call them because you have to differentiate between people, bad people with guns, and good concealed carriers who stop crime with guns. Okay? Okay, back to this.
the police officer won't carry that bag into the scene. The police officer doesn't have suitable ballistic armor.
Take me off screen.
Medical bag they carry is usually for one casualty, stuffing magazines in their pockets, limited breaching capabilities.
We're getting officers inside going to address a threat, and there are casualties that are not being addressed at all because it's still considered a hot zone.
Well, once a person is injured, okay, if it's a constricted airway, arterial bleeding, you have 3 to 5 minutes before death is imminent. Problem is we realize that when police officers on the
You
scene
get cut with a knife on an
and
artery,
the shooting
3 to 5
stops,
minutes.
or we've contained the threat
And
and
then
so
you die.
forth, fire, EMS, medical will not come on the scene until they are assured that the scene is cold.
Now here's the cool stuff. The backpack. Watch this. That has level 4 armor in there. Magazines already ready to go. Inside a backpack that flips over and deploys in less than 20 seconds. Med kit included inside.
Our bag
Fascinating.
does everything deployable in 30 seconds or less, and you have all that available to you.
Fascinating. Fascinating. That can carry level 3 armor, level 4 armor as well. Okay, so that's armor that's capable of stopping 308. I mean level 3, and of course 223. You know that's tremendous body protection, and it looks like a backpack. So you could just sit in your car as it looks like a backpack. You wrap it on, clip it up. They have these zips, so you go, you zip off, and you spin it, and it rolls open, and the chest plate comes on the front. You clip one clip, two clips in the belt that go in very fast, and you're ready. You have full armor on, ready to go. So with that backpack, it looks like a regular civilian backpack, but you have a complete rig that's easy to put on, okay? And it's a backpack plus a armor plates, okay? So you can have a medical kit, small trauma kit inside, but you could also carry other items that you want to carry. You could actually use it as a normal bag. It'll be a little heavy, but you could use it as a normal bag. I mean, if you have the DKX polyethylene plates that can stop level 3 armor. I mean, that's level 3. They're at level 3, rated at level 3. It can stop 223, not armor piercing rounds, but 223 regular. Then you're carrying something out that's very lightweight, but that is fully protected. Okay, and you can carry it like a backpack, which is so cool. Anybody who has tactical vests, they know, or armor vest, they know how hard it is to put that thing on. And one of the good techniques to use is just keep one side closed all the time. One side will clip in. So one side is open. So that way you put your head and arms through, boom, boom, and then you clip the last clip in, just so you have one clip to put on. That's the fastest way to put a tactical vest on. But it's very clearly a tactical vest. Okay, this is clearly a backpack. It just looks like a backpack. You could be walking around in a crowd with it, with a backpack on. And if you need protection, bam, it goes, and you already have a full armor vest on. Faster than you probably can put on a tactical vest. And it's so inconspicuous and stealthy. And they come in different colors, very, very civilian colors and stuff like that. So nobody would know that you're carrying an armor-plated vest for self-defense.
How much does it weigh?
It depends on what plate you're using. If you're using normal steel plates, they're anywhere from 8 to 10 pounds per plate. So you're talking about 20 pounds minimum, just for the plate and then the bag and the other accoutrements that you may have inside it. If you're talking about DKX plates with polyethylene, then you're talking about 3.3 pounds per plate, which is a substantial weight loss. So instead of 20 pounds, you're carrying 6 pounds, which is pretty awesome. Okay, if you're dealing with a smaller padded armor for like a lightweight pistol with pistol stopping power, that's a lot lighter. That's maybe 1-2 pounds. Okay, and for example, I have that one armor plate. Thank you, Jerry Hines. But you know, I keep, for example, that in some of my bags. So when I carry a backpack or some of that, it can actually be switched around, thrown in front of my body as a shield, at least for pistol rounds. And then I have firearms, etc., to shoot back. But I also have inside that backpack, you know, some of my backpacks, I have that pistol shield. So that's a good thing to have in your system for defense. I want to get one for the queen so that if you live in a cute little bag, she has a little shield inside it. So that way she can whip it around and defend her vital organs. But, you know, in any case, this is it's an interesting product, and it deploys very quickly, and it looks very inconspicuous. So I thought it was very interesting. Go ahead, bring that video up again. Let's see the deployment of that, how fast it was. Here we go. See, it looks like a regular bag. See that? They got coyote brown, so it looks very natural. Look at that. Oh my gosh, I didn't know they had that color. That looks much better. I thought they only had black. That guy looks like Dom Razon. Very inconspicuous. Look how fast that was. Now he's got full body plate armor. Holy crap. See how fast that was? That's amazing. Did you see how fast that deployed? Let me see that again. Hold on, let me see that again. Go back up right before you deployed. There we go, right there. Okay. Just walking like a normal dude. Walking like a normal guy. Now this is transportable coverage. Look at this. Boom, it's already in. Look at that. That was fast, and look how easy that came over. That's a great solution because the vests are hard to put on. But that's like a backpack, and you get the benefits of a backpack and a vest. Man, that deployed fast. Did you see that? And his pistol's ready. His mags are ready to go. That is really interesting system. That is a real interesting system. Boy, I'm very, very interested in that. But see, this is what the beauty of the free market. You get all this innovation, folks. Chunnigook is going to have tremendous technology, tremendous shopping malls, tremendous cool things, tremendous technology, all this cool innovation. We're going to have all because it's going to be so free and so unregulated. People are going to be able to really unlock their creativity to create all these beautiful products and services for people to serve them. Oh, it's fantastic. And you won't be suffocated by all these regulations, legal permits and laws and stupid certifications that you have to get and licensing fees. None of that. You'll be able to keep the money that you earn as you serve people. Amazing. We'll be right back after a short break. Stay with us on the King's Report.
At break of day, in hope we rise, we speak your name.
Let hope arise and make the darkness hide. shake the ground with the sound of revival. Let heaven roar and fire fall. Come shake the ground with the sound of revival. Let heaven roar and fire fall. Come shake the ground with the sound of revival. Our God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. He's roaring, he's roaring like a lion. He's roaring, he's roaring, he's roaring, he's roaring like a lion. Let love explode and bring the dead to life. A love so bold to see a revolution somehow. Let love explode and bring the dead to life. A love so bold to bring a revolution somehow. Now I'm lost in your freedom, and this world I'll overcome. My God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. He's roaring, he's roaring like a lion. Let hope arise and make the darkness hide. My faith is dead, I need a resurrection somehow. Now I'm lost in your freedom, and this world I'll overcome. My God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. He's roaring, he's roaring like a lion. He's roaring, he's roaring. Let heaven roar and fire fall. Come shake the ground with the sound of revival. Let heaven roar and fire fall. Come shake the ground with the sound of revival. Let heaven roar and fire fall. Come shake the ground with the sound of revival. Our God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. He's roaring like a lion. He's roaring like a lion. And love explode and bring the dead to life. A love so bold to see a revolution somehow. And love explode and bring the dead to life. A love so bold to bring a revolution somehow. Now I'm lost in your freedom. And this world I'll overcome. My God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. He's roaring like a lion. Let hope arise and make the darkness hide. My faith is dead, I need a resurrection somehow. No, I'm lost in your freedom. And this world I'll overcome. My God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. He's roaring like a lion. He's roaring. Let heaven roar and fire fall. Come shake the ground with the sound of revival. Let heaven roar and fire fall. Come shake the ground with the sound of revival. Let heaven roar and fire fall. Come shake the ground with the sound of revival. My God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. He's roaring like a lion.
And we are back. Welcome back to the King's Report this Monday, December 18th, 2017. Sending everyone live from the Chani Gung studios to all the kings and queens of the Kingdom of God. Good morning. It is 7-Eleven. There used to be a shop called 7-Eleven, wasn't there? They don't have that anymore in America, do they? They have 7-Eleven still?
I don't see them.
I don't see them at all. I mean, hopefully with the tax cuts and the corporate tax cut rate, we'll see all.
America.
Yeah, I've seen them overseas. Yes. But anyways, folks, good morning. Thank you for joining us on the third hour. We're joined with Patriot John Zangaro. He is a candidate for Pennsylvania State Representative, a very accomplished man. He was a delivery truck customer representative. He was a project manager for natural gas drilling. He was United States Army Infantry active duty soldier from 2006 to 8. He was deployed in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom. So a real patriot. The man's done it all. Such a fine. Can I call you a young man? Would you consider yourself a young man, John?
I'll take the compliment.
Now I know you're suffering from a cold, my friend. So we hope that you quickly recover. Thank you so much for joining us again this morning. We're having a fantastic discussion, and I asked your opinion on a lecture I saw by a sort of a very prominent military educator, former ranger, etc. And he was saying that he believes that there are soft targets like elementary schools, which jihadis and terrorists will absolutely target. And he believes that will be the next 9/11. And all they need, if you look at their standard operating procedure, so to speak, of how they've attacked, they basically use IEDs and they in vehicles and or fire to kill masses of people. Basically, he was saying fire is a weapon of mass destruction, and he gave cases. Pakistan, I believe, there was other cases where over 100 kids were burned down just by the terrorists, pouring the gas out and lighting it. And it's interesting because he was saying during the lecture, he was giving examples of Israel and even Thailand that have learned by experience that you have to arm the citizens to be able to defend against this kind of terrorism. Because no matter how good law enforcement is, law enforcement folk, but they still take time to get onto the scene, and they don't necessarily enter in immediately. They have to first assess what's going on. But people in the school, if they were armed, would be able to shoot back, and fight back against terrorists, at least stall them until support came. What were some of the comments that you were saying on that? You were making some beautiful points. Could you repeat those things for our audience?
Sure. I believe that somewhere down the line, we believe that becoming civilized meant becoming lazy and just handing our responsibilities down and such. We used to have those weapons in our schools where we, as far back as elementary school, would train the children on weapons safety courses. We would even take them out to the ranges and teach them to shoot.
That's amazing.
Had we never taken those weapons out of the schools, but they'd still be there. We'd still have trained instructors within the schools, and all the children would even know how to appropriately use them. So that wouldn't be a soft target.
That is, that's so powerful. I was talking with Tig the other day, John Teagan, the Benghazi hero. We had him on a show the other day. And he was saying, when he trains his kids from a very young age, obviously, in firearms safety, but also what he'll do is he'll train them so that, for example, if they see a gun out, then they'll go report to daddy and say, Dad, your gun is out. He'll actually test them that way. So they get used to, coming to daddy when they see a firearm out, they don't have to deal with it themselves. They go to daddy, tell them the firearm is out, and then daddy will help them, or an adult will help them. It's kind of like training the kids. And this is what's great. In the past, as you mentioned, I know one of our members of our congregation here who's going to come with us to Switzerland. We're having a gun rights for Europe conference out there. And Mr. Larry Pratt, the director of, CEO, director of Gun Owners of America, will be joining us in Switzerland with some other folks out there. But it's like Lisa was telling us that when she was young, she's African American, she's from New Jersey. When she was in middle school, elementary school, I guess middle school, she was taught gun safety. She was taught, you know, they brought them out to the range. They were taught them firearms. I mean, it was such a part of the educational field, you know, that you would teach kids in this thing. Now you have public schools, which it's only demonized. You know, good people who are armed are demonized all the time. Military vets are demonized. They spread the lie that 40% of returning vets have PTSD, when that's absolutely unscientific and it's a complete media lie. It's a hoax. The VA, according to the VA, it's only 8%. And the military, in terms of veterans who come back, and you know, they say, oh, 100 vets have murdered people in the United States. When that's compared to the normal population, it actually should be in the thousands over 14 years of warfare. Our vets, if they're compared to the normal citizen population, okay, they should have killed, come back home, and they should have become murderers of over thousands of people, thousands, in the thousands. It should be in the thousands. It's only at 100. So it actually proves that our vets are safer. They're not crazies as the liberal lunatics want to make them. They shouldn't be disarmed. They're actually more responsible than civilians. The wars make them stronger on average, and they function as not only successful members of society, but they're less likely to shoot you. They're less likely to go after you as an employer. They're made stronger by their experience. As the Bible talks about, tribulation makes us stronger. And tribulation, gives experience. Experience leads to hope, and hope leads to overcoming. So, tell us a little about. I know you've been in Iraq. Did that experience make you stronger as a person? And how was it when you came back? Did you experience any of this demonization or people not wanting to employ you because you were a vet? What was your experience?
Well, if I may go ahead and discuss the PTSD thing first. I don't understand. It doesn't matter if 90% or 2% come back with PTSD. That is not a diagnostic that anyone can rule to be dangerous for someone to have a weapon or not. That's complete. I have to dismiss any scientific value to that. I mean, I know a bunch of people that have been diagnosed with PTSD that weren't even in the military that own weapons. So, I mean, I don't know the exact numbers, but they claim that, anybody who goes through a traumatic moment has PTSD or is likely to have PTSD. Now, how many people have been through traumatic moments? It can be a car crash. It can be, watching a loved one go through a painful death. It can range through all kinds of things. They say, I believe it's one in 5 or 1 in 7 is raped in here in America, and that right there is enough to cause PTSD to any sound mind. So if you imagine how many people here in America have PTSD, and then you run the numbers of how many people walk around with weapons either on their person or in their homes, the numbers are against this scientific suggestion that PTSD causes some sort of insanity that would disallow you to own a weapon. I mean, it's just not a fact. On top of that,
when you came back from your service, was it hard to find employment where people they kind of discriminating against you because you served?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Everybody wants to walk up and shake your hand and tell you thank you and make themselves feel better, but nobody actually does anything beyond that. I mean, nobody wants to employ you because there is a, very, very, very minuscule chance that you might have something. that could cause you to, I'm not even sure. I'm not going to go down that road, but the issues of finding employment, unless you have a very particular skill set, let's say that you went in and became one of the top leading medical personnel in the U.S. Army, then you might come out and fall into a certain position. But even then, you still need to get particular schoolings and certificates under you. So it's very difficult because you go from, it's not just a career, it's a lifestyle. Your entire life revolves around the Army when you're in it, or rather the military when you're in it. It doesn't matter what branch, because you live within that society. You're pulled outside of the civilian society. You live within there. Your entire life is structured around it from morning, noon, and night. It doesn't matter. You live, eat, and breathe it. And then all of a sudden, you're dismissed from it and you're tossed back out into the civilian life. It doesn't matter if you're in combat or you've never seen it. Now you have to transition back. Mm-hmm. Now, the way that societies ran is completely different than the military. So now you have to restructure your way of thinking, your way of working, your way of speaking, the way you handle yourself in every aspect of life. You don't have a job once you get out. So now you've lost your job. You've probably lost your home, because most of the military lives on base. You've lost your health insurance. You've lost your support group. You've lost everything. So now you're left out on your own. And unless you have built up a large enough account in the military, which most people, 10 years and under don't have that, you have nothing. You're just tossed out there and you're scrambling to find a place in the world and a spot where you're accepted. Do you realize that there is well over 10, potentially 15% of military veterans that have been accepted and approved for the GI Bill, that once they get out, they can't access it? So, I mean, there's even that's stricken from some. I myself, I served in active duty. I have a stamped piece of paper that says I've been approved for my GI Bill. I paid for the entirety. I can't access it. I know a guy who's retired over 2 years in, staff sergeant, retired honorably. He can't access it. There's a lot of people out there that are just left to go and find their own way. Then you have the VA. The VA is completely dysfunctional. Mm-hmm. The vast of them don't really do anything to help the veteran community. Not saying that the people within the VA don't want to, but there's so much bureaucracy and red tape possible. And then you also have to think on top of that, just to get to the VA, there's a large majority of veterans that have to drive up to 80 to 100 miles one way just to get to the VA that they're assigned to. Now, if I may, I spoke with Rick Chacon about this. Now, we all know that he is an Admiral veteran himself, and he has done as much as he possibly can within the State House. He's currently settling in for the candidacy for the U.S. Congress, and him and I discussed the idea about disbanding the VA as it is and making them just a little cell in every local hospital, so that they're more accessible, and that way the people are working within the communities and within the hospital structures, hopefully eliminating some of that bureaucracy.
I mean, it's so unbelievable, because the people who are building up this democracy, the neocons and the leftist, commies on the Democratic side, they're just constantly building up this apparatus. And it's amazing, because what is the greatest threat? I mean, even Hitler, when he used his, what do they call him? Goodness, it slipped my mind. But anyways, the people that he used in order for his coup, he ended up promising them pensions and all this kind of thing. But then they're the first ones he threw under the bus, because as he grabbed power, the totalitarians now fear the very people that they used to gain that power, and then they want to disarm those people. And you see the DSM-5, the Diagnostic Manual of psychological illness or mental health, whatever. They're now making up all sorts of crazy psychological diseases, even if you have. If you make critical comments of the government, according to DSM-5, and I guess the newly released 6, you have a mental disorder. What is it called again, guys? Remember that? It's authority. There's a new disorder they made for it, and that's if you criticize the federal government or a bureaucracy. You have oppositional defiance disorder. That's what it is. Oppositional defiance disorder. So, and then you are liable then to get your guns taken away because some psych shrink said you got some kind of made up disease that they say you apparently have. This is totally medical tyranny.
I'd have to agree with you on that. I don't believe that any theory, anybody who studies a theory, not a sound science, should have that much power. And that's exactly what psychology and psychiatry is. It's a theory. It's never been a proven sound science. On top of that, we all have seen that the government uses fear to herd people into categories that they want and in order to grab power. I mean, they utilized 9/11 to expand the NDAA, the National Defense Act. And then you had Barack Obama that expanded it to leaps and bounds to where it actually states that every single person in the world, to include U.S. citizens, are now potential terrorists, and therefore your Bill of Rights is out the window. So I don't doubt that they're using these fear tactics to control society and make people believe these things. I mean, the U.S. military actually uses psychological operations, otherwise known as PSYOPs, to obtain the same exact footholds in Iraq, Afghanistan, wherever they go, wherever their feet hit the dirt. I mean, they use these same exact tactics against.
What's his expert, Steve Pachinik, he's on InfoWars, he's on Alternative, he's his own channel. Always exposing the fact that psychological operations are being used through mainstream media to basically the people that you see, the anchors that you see, they're military operatives, and they're already in collusion with the CIA. They're in collusion, Media Matters, you name it, Anderson Cooper, all these people who are supposed to be news anchors and journalists, but they're not only political activists, they're actually military operatives doing psychological warfare upon the American people. Now it's turned on us.
Now that actually began a long time ago during your Vietnam and Korean War. Right. You had the military was using the news media personnel to dissuade or give false information to our enemies. And as such, I mean, whoever watched that media was getting the false information. And they saw how we reacted to it and realized that, yes, they can go ahead and structure it to be used against its own people. The CIA has recently let out a lot of their black ops information from the early onset of when they first began, and I believe the dates brought all the way up to the 60s, if not even more. And if you take a look at that, you'll realize that they've actually done more against America than against any other entity out there. And
well, it's interesting you mentioned the 60s because, like Operation Northwoods, they were putting that up to Kennedy's desk to literally do terrorist attacks, to blame it on, then blame it on Cuba. And literally they said in the documents, let's blow up, we want to blow up malls. And that passed to the Joint Chiefs of Staff. And that went all the way to Kennedy, and he struck it down. But they were trying to do false flag attacks on American soil. That is the US government planning to do it, legally planning, well, not, I don't know, but legally, but trying to do this stuff to blame other countries and start wars.
Well, I mean, you have to wonder, why are the documents all blacked out over just a simple JFK assassination? They can't allow us read into that. That right there should be, and then you do have actual people coming out bringing evidence that the CIA utilizes the U.S. military over in Afghanistan for the poppy fields ever since the war on drugs. We have been the kingpin in that. I mean, we are the largest.
Oh my gosh. That's what I love about you, John. You're so awake. I mean, we first met, I remember at the NDAA thing with Dan Johnson and everything. Dan Johnson, by the way, was back at our church. He gave a wonderful thing. He's working on some excellent, we do better.org, and he's going to come back. So I'd love to have you there, and just maybe we can get together with Dan and everything. But I was so impressed. Here was this young man, and and you were just so astute, so on point. You knew so much. You were so awake. We're like, wow. I mean, this is like, it's so amazing. And now I'm so happy because now you're not only an activist, but you're going and for a state representative. And that is like so critical because these counties need to be taken back by patriots who are awake. And you lived it. I mean, you served in Iraq, you saw the front line, and you love your country, you love your fellow countrymen and women, and you want to do something about it. And these local areas need to be taken back by patriots.
Absolutely, but it can't happen just because we want it to. It can't happen just because a single person stands up. We need the communities to wrap around patriots like myself and Dan Johnson and others that you've had on here, such as Lou Jazikov and so on and so forth. I mean, if we don't have the support of the people, then we're not going to be able to do anything to bring forth the change that's necessary. We have to stop expanding all these laws so that we become the subordinates of the government. The government's supposed to be subordinate to us. We're supposed to be the leaders of the government. They're supposed to serve the Constitution and the will of the people. And I can't think in the past 80 years where they've done either one.
And it's against the will of God because look at, even in the Garden of Eden, God said to his children, Adam and Eve, be fruitful, multiply, have dominion over the earth and subdue it. He didn't give that blessing to the archangels, even though they were powerful and helped him with creation. He didn't give them the blessing to have dominion and rule and reign over the earth. It's humanity that he gave that. The archangels were supposed to be servant. They're not supposed to be the masters. And so that's why, my father would always talk about, the government as the archangelic force. And of course, it's the most murderous entity on the planet in the last 20th century, murdering over 220 million people by democide.
I believe it was James Madison in the Federalist Papers that stated, we're not governed by angels, therefore we must law basically to break it down, it has to restrain the people within the government, the people who have the ability to expand that power. I mean, anybody who has worked in a vast corporation, they try to work their way up as high as they can possibly get, CEO, president, as far as they can. Why? Because people feed off of power. People thrive for power. They want more power. I'm telling you right now, there are just a very few of us out there that don't want power. As a matter of fact, what we want for nobody to have all that power.
People.
I myself, I have 6 children, a wonderful wife. I've been blessed. I have lots of arrows in my quiver, as the Bible would put it. But when it comes down,
praise God, you're doing your service to humanity.
when it comes down to it, though, I've seen the structure. I've seen what it can do. I've seen the good and the bad. I know that we have a lot of excellent people out there that are exceptional leaders. But one thing that we have to take into consideration is we're not hiring a leader in these positions. We're hiring a servant. We're hiring someone who can take a knee to the Constitution and the needs of the people and be completely selfless when it comes to the ideas of what the next step is. We have so much regulation here in Pennsylvania. We have so many taxes here in Pennsylvania that most corporations can't breathe within Pennsylvania. So why would more businesses move here? We have people moving to places like Florida and Texas and so on and so forth because their corporate structure makes it so much easier to find a job. And then we have places as liberal as Maine and New Hampshire and Vermont that I couldn't believe it. Their Second Amendment rights are being.
Well, it's amazing because you have the union issue here. Isn't the union problem like massive? I mean, these politicians getting tons of money from the unions, and they're supposed to be protecting the citizens, but they're in the pockets of these lobbyists and these union bosses.
Well, I know that you have a lot of strong unions all across America, and I'm not going to dissuade anyone from joining a union. I'm not going to talk down about unions. I believe there are a lot of great unions out there. I just believe that they take another look at them and realize, like, for instance, your teachers union, are they really doing what we need for our children? No, they're not a union for your children. They're a union for their employees. Now, do they have some exempt employees? They have some exceptional employees. They have some of the greatest servants out there trying to do it right. But again, the bureaucracy and red tape gets in the way and they're handcuffed. And then you have a union that really doesn't fight for the children. No, because they're fighting for the next penny, the next dollar, the next step that they can get to grab their power.
And what about adding competition so that
the schools would have to compete, public schools have to compete with private schools, charter schools, people can use their tax credit voucher system so that they can put their taxpayer educational money that they want to put. And the primary tax in the biggest burden that citizens have to burden in Pennsylvania is the education, for education. Why can't our tax credits go to where we want them to go if we want our kids to homeschool, private school, charter school, religious school, public school, give some competition so that the public school doesn't have a monopoly.
You know what? Indiana did something that I'd like to go ahead and bring to the floor of the House here in Pennsylvania should I get elected. It's a wonderful, wonderful idea. It's basically what you were saying, your tax money goes to where you want. Now, the initial point behind it was that, let's say the public school that your kids are going to isn't up to par, isn't meeting the standard that you would like to see, but yet the public school down the road, that one's up to snuff. It's doing well. It's meeting all these expectations. Well, I can pull my kid out of the one that they're in, and as long as that other one has an opening, I can transfer them to any public school that I want, as long as they're able to have an opening for my kid. Now, they did that, and they found that the better public schools were just getting hammered with more and more kids trying to come to those schools, and it started hurting those schools that weren't meeting that standard. Now, like all the teachers unions scream about, well, then it's going to hurt those schools and we're going to lose jobs. No, it didn't. What it did is it ended up forcing those other schools to bring their standard up because they were being so criticized, and they were so critically under the pressure and under the thumb of that community, because everybody saw it, that they ended up bringing their standards up higher than the other schools. And it just became a teeter-totter effect. These schools started fighting to be better.
Right. Healthy competition, that's always good. I mean, Sweden, I mean, look, we're so backwards in terms of our educational system since the Department of Education ever came into existence. And the Horace Mann system, Prussian educational system was brought to the US to basically indoctrinate children. But it's like,
Sweden, for example, which is very common on some levels, but in terms of education, they allow for the tax voucher system. They introduce lots of competition for their educational systems so that people can choose where they want to send their kids. And the more competition, the better. It only makes a product and service better, higher quality at a lesser price for the taxpayer. And that's always a benefit for the client.
I believe I saw something. You can let me know if I'm wrong here, but I believe I saw something about South Korea paying some of their top teachers more than we pay some of our top athletes.
Yeah, I don't know about. Is that true?
They said
right, the hug ones. Yeah, you're right, because there's like the private educations. They have like after you go to public school, then your parents or they try to send you to like these private education after school supplementary businesses. They're businesses. They're actually businesses. So it's like nuts. I mean, the Korean moms, they've been really notorious for being what they call helicopter moms and really driving their kids into madness because they just like, it's like literally the kids are studying 20 hours a day. It's a psychological and physical risk to these children's lives. But you're right, they do get paid quite a bit.
and finally start focusing on, like you said, bringing competition to the education, to each and every school, make them compete against one another to be the best. And then get rid of these things like the No Child Left Behind Act. I believe once you go ahead and get rid of these hindrances that are keeping these educators from actually performing at their highest ability, and then again putting forth the ability for them to compete, I believe not only will it strengthen the education for our children, but we'll also see a lot of the teachers out there that are finally getting what's due to them. Because whenever you have the absolute worst educators mixed in with the best, and they're all structured to be dealt with the same, and there's no difference between them, that kind of kills the soul of the great educators. And again, my children have been to a few different schools here in Pennsylvania. I've seen some exceptional teachers, principals and vice principals, and I feel bad for them. I really do, because I've also seen some horrible teachers. I can't call them educators. They're just there to pick up a pension and pick up a paycheck. They don't care. They do the bare minimum. They tell the kids, read this book and get back to me with whatever the assignment is. And that's not good, because it also kills the passion for learning for the children. And we need to develop these skills within our society. We need to go ahead and
no question about it. We're going to take a short break and be right back with John Zangaro. Stay with us, folks.
Boy, wasn't that fun shooting this Tommy gun today?
It's always fun shooting Tommy guns. This one especially, it's just absolutely gorgeous.
all polished and chromed up. It really looks like $1 million.
Yeah, yeah. Elliot Ness would have loved one of those.
Yeah, and it's available right now in your favorite dealer, and you go pick one up.
Yeah, just have him call your distributor.
I mean, the gun, you know, was initially made way back when, back in the 27 is this one.
Yeah, Model
But
27.
I was surprised by how quick it knocked down those plates.
Oh, 3.5 second run, under 3.5 second run, knocking down a plate right. 341.
I mean, the gun is heavy. It's about, what, 12, 14 pounds, especially with this drum, but it's surprising how quick you can go with it. It would actually make quite a good self-defense rifle at home.
If I climbed in somebody's window and they were aiming that at me, I think I'd get out of there real quick. So
that sounds about right to me.
Just the intimidation factor alone.
Fire!
And we are back, folks. Welcome back, Monday, December 18th, 2017. We are here with Mr. John Zangaro. He is a candidate for PA, Pennsylvania State Representative. Very exciting. He is a true patriot, veteran, young, handsome dad of 6, and very capable. John, there are some tax plans that you've been working on with many different thinkers around Pennsylvania, and things like that. Let's talk about that a little bit, and of course, let us know when the elections are coming up, and what the best way, of course, to support you in your candidacy is. But first, let us know about the tax plan.
Well, I appreciate you letting me talk about this a little bit. I decided that certain things need to be done and that no one else was doing it. So I reached out to some of the activists within the community that are exceptionally skilled in their knowledge for writing legislation. If I may, I'd like to go ahead and throw the names out there. One of the greatest, I consider my mentor. He's an exceptionally skilled and knowledgeable gentleman. His name's Aaron Bollinger. Aaron Bollinger has done amazing things with the legislation. He actually started, it's called the Sherman Institute. It's an online education. You can access it, look it up, Sherman Institute. Then there's Dan Gray. A lot of people know who Dan Gray is. He's an activist within the community. He's very knowledgeable. He knows a lot of the key players in the House and Senate. And then there's a gentleman, Bob McNeil. He ran for the presidency as a third party. A lot of people don't know him, but his platform was to bring back a constitutional tax. Now, over the past decade, he's been taking on his own time and dime, taking on the IRS and winning against them. He's been fighting the platform that what they do and how they go about their business is unconstitutional. And he's been winning so much that the courts have been trying to shut him up, that the government. Now he's currently going against Ted Cruz for that Senate seat because he doesn't understand how a constitutional attorney hasn't pursued the constitutional tax. Now, his idea was that should we go ahead and go about a constitutional tax, that it'll actually get rid of the Fed and the IRS and a lot of other issues there that are causing this so-called swamp. Well, I was in one of Aaron Bollinger's classes, and we were throwing around some ideas, trying to figure out what is going on in our society, what we could do to potentially fix it. And we were, while throwing that around, the idea came about kind of like a sunset law. Well, we went ahead and played around with it, and decided that we didn't want an expansive law, something that most people couldn't read or understand. So the idea of shelf life. Everyone understands an expiration date on your box of cereal or milk or what have you. And so we decided the title for this legislation would be the tax shelf life. And what it is it states every 2 years, the entire state House and Senate has to vote to keep all these laws on the books. Now, it doesn't necessarily change anything, but it has the potential to change everything. We can go ahead and therefore, once this would be passed, hold everybody accountable there in the state and state legislation or state legislatures. You have everybody would have to vote to keep every single tax on the books. Then we could see who voted for what taxes and ask them why. Before we give them the next term, they have to answer why. And that's all it basically does is it exempts them from just passing the buck and not being held accountable. And now they would have to look their constituents and say, this is why I stand for you paying these taxes. And if they don't feel those necessary, they're going to let them. They're going to let them go. All they have to do is not vote for them, and per this legislation, they automatically become null and void, and they're completely wiped off the books.
Give some power back to the people who are electing these politicians in there, and give some transparency to see exactly what they're standing for, and not be able to hide under all these all these wacky clauses and these votes that they're putting in, and they're sneaking stuff in all the time. And that would be so clarifying to see exactly where they stand on what taxes and why they stand to support or are in opposition to each particular tax.
And then there's another one that I'm working on with some people, trying to get some grants to bring in some money. You have all these manufacturing jobs and what have you that have just up and left, and you have a lot of blight because of that. Well, if we could go ahead and bring some of this grant money in, we were discussing veterans earlier. Well, we have a lot of homeless veterans. We have a lot of homeless people that over the past decade just lost everything. It's not because they're in drugs or anything like that. It's because they don't have the skill sets that we need in our society. So therefore, they're unemployable. So if we were able to go ahead and bring these grants in, the idea here is to find certain colleges out there that would bring these homeless people in, that would bring these homeless vets in, and teach them these skills: roofing, welding, pipe fitting, masonry, electrical, and so on and so forth. And while giving hands-on education to these people, giving them hands-on skills through the unions and through the colleges, we could fix up these buildings so that they're no longer a blight to the community, so that they're now usable and functionable. And then we can go ahead and put greenhouses in some of these and use them for the high schools to teach on how to grow food, how to, a healthy environment, and it also gives them a skill set.
Well, this is what's so great. Solutions come from the ground up and from the people that are involved in the on the ground. And the more solutions, the better. The more ideas that are out there that empower people and give people opportunity to learn real skill sets that are usable in the marketplace. It's all the better. It's so crazy how we're in a situation where, of course, vets are demonized, basically indirectly discriminated against because of misinformation by the mainstream media and the leftist lunatics who want to disarm them and label them as all crazy so they can get rid of that threat, potential threat, because you have veterans who are people who know how to fight. So, but those kind of solutions where you're looking to empower them and to get them back on their feet and to, the general population to see them as not a liability, but a real resource that can contribute to society. That's wonderful. It's wonderful to get these solutions from the ground up.
Well, there are other things that I'm working on as well, and hopefully next time we speak, we can have some of those in motion. But I'm also hoping that the next time we speak, I have some good things to mention about my running for the state House Representative position against my. He is the incumbent, Neil Goodman. His father actually was in office back in the 60s and 70s, and then his father's buddy took over in the 80s and finally handed Neil Goodman in 2003. Now, if I may briefly, Neil's not a horrible person. He doesn't do anything to fight for this community since he's had roughly a half of a decade's worth of influence in this area. It is just slowly crumbling under their watch, and they're not doing anything positive
right, so
with
he's not
it.
actively trying to destroy the communities, but he doesn't actively protect, or he's not doing enough to actually make a difference in the communities. Yeah, that's a problem.
Well, we just recently had this pro-life bill that was going through about the dismemberment, and he supposedly has the backing of pro-life organizations. He didn't even show up to vote for that. Now, how can you not stand for, or rather against, dismemberment of an innocent infant and then tell me that you're doing what's healthy for the community? That's where the community begins.
Exactly. It's a Satanist practice.
It is time that we get people in office that aren't just a bunch of rhetoric, a bunch of words, a bunch of false, empty promises. We can't have any more empty suits. They're just as dangerous as the people who are trying to dismantle our liberties. We need to get people who are actively interested and willing and capable to push back, to fight against that negative machine that is tearing our communities apart. We need people who are going to reach out to the communities and bring a positive result back. We need someone who will work with the churches. Doesn't matter what denomination they are. They need to be able to work amongst the community. They need to be able to envelop an ability for these businesses to function and thrive again. We can't even have lemonade stands or college students cutting grass anymore without the proper paperwork put. I mean, when did we screw up that bad that my kids can't have a lemonade stand or popcorn stand during the summer while everyone is having their meals?
Yeah, it's so crazy, but I'm so happy to hear that you are running because President Trump is in office. We believe God really has chosen this man. He's put this man in that office to effect change. But again, he can't do everything, and it is incumbent upon the people and the patriots in the country to step up and stand out against the neocons, against the establishment, liberal lunatics, against the actual, deep state bureaucracies and the totalitarians that are in there posing as nice politician people when they're really predators. And it's great because across the whole nation now, I mean, the Democratic National Party is collapsing. The Republicans are winning back so many of the seats, even locally. But again, even within the Republican Party, there has to be discernment because there are neocons who want to continue the whole era of, big government through the, warfare state. But there are those libertarian-minded ones who want to, focus on the principles of success and the principles of empowering their local, jurisdictions as opposed to the federal.
Well, real quickly, the RLC is Republican Liberty Caucus. They're the ones who gave us Mike Lee and Ted Cruz and Rand Paul and people like that. Well, if you like what Rand Paul stands for, then you need to check out the RLC, Republican Liberty Caucus. The state leader, John Kopcha, is always looking for people who are interested and liberty-minded. If you're interested in expanding liberty, if you want to go ahead and develop the liberties that our founders initially had for us to represent, if you're interested in that, you need to reach out to John Kopcha. You can find me on Facebook, John Zangaro, JOHNZANGARO. Find me on Facebook. I'll get you in touch with John Kopcha. You want to support my campaign? I would love to have any and all support from any individual out there that is tired of the status quo.
John Zangaro, folks. John, thanks so much for joining us and updating us on your historic candidacy for a PA State Representative. We hope that it's going to be a good battle fight when you're fighting for sovereignty, the gifts that God has given all humanity. But each man and woman who stands up makes a difference, and your voice is heard as you stand up for what for humanity and for people in general. We thank you so much, John, for doing that patriotic duty and standing up, not just talking about it. You are actually stepping out and there and going for it. We have people in our community that will be hopefully doing the same in the very near future. So we are very encouraged and very empowered. Once again, folks, contact John Zangaro, and folks like John must take office so that we can take back our local areas. John, thanks again for joining us, man. Thank you. It's always a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you, and God bless.
God bless, brother. Folks, thank you for joining us today. It's been a beautiful day, and it is a gorgeous morning out there. It's going to be the 40s today. It's a little warmer than yesterday, but we hope that everybody has a wonderful, blessed day. Give all the glory, praise, and honor to Him this day as you take each breath, as you walk each step, as you walk in faith, and as you seek to overcome the obstacles and temptations of the devil today. You will be victorious in Christ. Christ gives you all that you need, and we know that His kingdom is coming. Stand strong with your crown and rod of iron. It is the way Christ rules in His kingdom. So make sure you stand in authority with love, not in spirit of fear, but love, power, and a sound mind. And we will see you tomorrow, 5 a.m. sharp on the King's Report. God bless, Godspeed, and may His kingdom come.